Hey, bestie. So, if you know me, you know I love untraditional approaches to marketing, to business, and just making your own rules and making everything work for you. So, today's very, very special guest is super aligned with everything. I mean, I am going to read you off some of her highlights of her business journey. She is going to absolutely blow your mind in the most gorge, bougie way possible. So I'm not even going to introduce her because she just has to introduce herself. Tosh,
hello.
Welcome.
Oh my God. This is a long time coming because you and I, we go way back.
We really do.
Yes, we do.
Diapers.
Yeah, precisely. See, we finish our own sentences. Yeah, or each other's. But I'm Natasha Zoryk, now 3 times founder, and I'm a Canadian gal, which offline they were just clocking me for my accent.
Sorry.
Sorry. And yeah, so a business mentor, speaker, started out as a designer and now tech founder as well, but currently still a mentor and speaker. That's kind of the journey. I started when I was in 2019, and I was just a little baby, 21. And here I am today. And so I'm so thrilled to be here because we're going to get into it, but yeah.
Trust me, we're going to be getting into it. But she was being really humble with her little intro. So I'm going to read you some highlights. Okay. So grew your business over 1,000% from 2020 to 2021.
Yep.
You nearly hit 7 figures in 2021 alone. Okay. Hit 200K launches on 3 Instagram story posts. 80% client retention. Your funnels generate a 5-figure income a month. So you're making money. Okay, you're making money, but without posting on socials, really, like posting on feed. And that's what I want to get into, stepping away from socials, but still having a business without doing the social media thing. And I'm a social media manager. I tell my clients and I tell everyone, get consistent on socials, post on socials, but you did it a different way. So please tell us, how are you doing that?
Yeah. So the 1,000% was when I switched from designing. I had a digital marketing and design agency, and that's when I went into business mentorship. And because it was such a, if you want to say, anticipated and very desired transition from my audience, like I listened for months when I was designing websites. I had my clients, because it was just passive courses. So I was well versed in funnels before it was like all the rage and sales psych. I had a passive profits back in 2019, one of my courses, but it was being bombarded to me from my clients, like, can you coach me? Can you coach me? When are you going to coach? And so the transition I found when I did it, the Band-Aid got ripped off because I got disabled on Instagram. So I just jumped in head first and I went like balls to the wall, and it just worked out. And there was just the demand there. And so I sold out. Like I sold NF6F out. That's when I first launched it. Private coaching, completely sold it out. And so it just grew my business. So it was a really good pivot, and it was wanted. And then, so that's where that 1,000% happened, because it was just a massive jump from going from designing and so service-based to coaching. That was that massive jump. But then the social experiment, because it was such a success from the word go, I caught myself in that very heavy client load. And I was omnipresent, because when I got disabled on Instagram, I was like, you aren't going to take my business from me. And so I had a podcast, I had a YouTube, Facebook, I did all the things. I thought I had to be everywhere. And at that time, being omnipresent, that was like all the rage in 2020, 2019. And so I did all the things. And then I realized I was getting crazy money, crazy success, amazing clients, but I was burnt out. It was like a cycle. And that led me down my sustainability route, and like what made me so passionate about that, because I experienced the other side. And I was like, hold on. Just because everyone's doing this, just because this is traditional, just because everyone is like shoving it down your throat that you have to be everywhere, you have to have multiple channels and be so present and post 6 times a week and all these rules, I just felt so heavy. And like, yeah, this is entrepreneurship, and we know we can be free. We know we have the freedom of how to scale, how to make our offers look, and how to show up. But I did feel like there was these rules. And so I was like, I'm going to be untraditional. And I completely stopped everything for 1 whole year, and I called it the social experiment. And I was like, I want to scale to 7 figures in an untraditional way. And I want it for myself. I didn't have the answers, but I wanted it to be a massive permission slip to the industry and my clients, and kind of this ripple effect of, just because coaches and these trends and these pieces of advice are going around and circulating does not mean it's Bible, does not mean it's like the way. There's 1,000 ways to be successful. And it was about infusing psychology, fun, and your sense of judgment into business. And so, yeah, I completely pulled back and I prioritized psychology, and I got to the point where I would post a few stories. I would sell out a mastermind because I prioritize expressive buyers, as you know, as she knows. And it was a great success. Like, client retention was massive. I didn't want to grow visibility. I didn't want PR. I didn't want to grow my numbers. I wanted to nurture my community, because the year after was going to be the growth year. And so I was very intentional. And it was also a testament that vanity metrics and constantly growing rapid numbers is not always the key to success. Like, there's so much power in quality over quantity. And so, yeah, that's the whole spiel.
Oh my gosh, we're going to get into it. So at that time, I think you under like, you were under 10,000 followers, but you would just post a couple of stories, and then people would just buy, and not just buy, but like buy and want to put, like, not buy in a skeptical way, but just like, please, like, here's my credit card, please work with me. So, but then before that, I want to kind of go back to you getting your Instagram disabled, because I think that's a huge fear, because we don't own these social media platforms. So when that happened, you got your Instagram disabled. What did you do, like, immediately after?
I cried.
Right. Valid.
We sobbed. Yeah. I was like, oh no. And it wasn't once, it was twice. And one was in the middle of the sales expert, the mini mind that Alyssa invested in. It's all around sales psych. It was a course before I turned it into a mini mind. And that was one of my most exciting launches. It was projected to be $100,000 launch, and I got disabled midway through. But I thought it was the end of the world. I was so nervous. I was so scared, but it was, at the time, the worst feeling in the world, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it truly was that hard lesson of, I've built a business, but I actually haven't, because the rug can be pulled from under you in a second. And it was a massive lesson for everyone in my community too. I actually got put in a blog, and I've asked her to remove it, because I got so many inquiries for people asking how to get their account back. I'm like, I've got Instagram support. Yeah. But my instant fear was like, my whole business has crumbled. And yeah, that's where the whole omnipresent and like building on your own digital space and true sustainability comes from. But yeah, it was just straight fear, panic, and then the problem solving shortly came after. Right.
So you're not posting a ton on feed. You're not really on TikTok. Why not go all in on Instagram and TikTok? I feel like everyone has these like markers. Okay, like once I make it this far, then I'll do the next thing, then I'll do the next thing. But you're living your life. You're on a world tour.
I can't with you.
She's traveling the world. Like, why not go all in on socials right now for you and your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't found the perfect team, quote unquote, to support me. I'm definitely, I like to say, a recovering perfectionist, but that's a lie. That's a little lie. But also, I think time and time again, it's been shown that I really don't have to. In order to have an incredible effect on my people and to get the results that provide me with an incredible life and balance and sustainability. And now, having my third business, Azura, the tech company, that's a main priority too. And last year was the year of, I had 8 team members. I had a CMO. I had so many hands in the pot. And that comes with a whole other level of leadership and responsibility and time. And so I like a lean team. But I think I'll never be the type of marketer to go all in and like post a crazy amount. I view content creation for me personally as seasons, like when to go dip in and dip out a little bit. But I let my back end, I let my systems, I let my brand do a lot of the legwork. I'm very strategic with that. So it just doesn't necessarily align with my energy levels the way I have seen physical proof through the way I market and again, psychology. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's like an untraditional way, but it freaking works for me. And it does through sales psych. It creates the sense of curiosity. Like people always ask questions around that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you look at Tasha's stories, everyone's just like wants to know what you're doing, wants to know what you're eating, wants to know when you're brushing your teeth. So yes, it totally does work. And if you're listening to this right now and you are a little bit mind blown on how someone could essentially say no to socials and not put it as a top priority, because even for myself, my business, socials is a huge part of my business. I know it is for so many people. So if it's not socials, what is working for you? You talked about back end. You talked about, well, we're going to get into sales psych, of course, in a little bit. But if not socials, what is it then for you?
It is that one-on-one time with my people, especially in the DMs. Like if you DM me, it seems like creepy. Like I'm like, seen right away, seen. I'm like, I swear I'm not just waiting in the DMs for you. But then like I'll send a voice message. Like I'll start laughing with them, you know, and it's a very, very connection first approach, human people first approach. With infusing laughter and the feel good factor, you know, really connecting and giving that quote unquote dedicated time in the moment. Funnels too, that's a huge one. So even I think of, I got to beef it up and I'm redoing everything leading up to Maya Summit to be more passive. But currently, you know, I have the CEO Atelier and that has so many people, every day people join that. It's a free resource hub with a basic funnel. And I get passive sales every day on my little low ticket offers. That's huge too. It's not a big revenue generator because they're so like $7, but still that grows my email list. And so making myself, and you'll know this from, you know, our time together while working together, is I make myself very accessible to get yourself into, you know, the funnels and everything. So through the link in bio, through highlights, even just stories, but I would say stories as well. You kind of got to watch it to catch things. That's a big one. And yeah, I would say it is the funnels. It's making myself accessible through lead generation, the podcast too, my podcast, my show notes is a big strategy too, how I lay that out. And yeah, just when you do have a conversation with me, it's going to feel very like we've already met. It's going to feel very personable. That's one of the biggest pieces of feedback. Or I'm quick, you know, that's definitely the approach. So it's a good rapport, good first impression, I would say.
Accessible is definitely the word. Accessible and delightful, I would say, are words to describe you because she's quick. Okay, she's
it's quick. Creepy.
Like,
it's
I'm like, oh,
creepy.
see already. But you're on the world tour. How are you? How are you texting me so quick? You're on the world tour. You're at the beach. No, but it is. It is really, really like that. And yeah, those conversations in the DMs, feeling so close to you, and essentially you growing your personal brand in a different way. You're going so deep with your community. You're going so deep in the details, in the back end of your funnels, your copy, the DMs, the stories, instead of putting it all over your feed or on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. And obviously that really, really works for you. So your personal brand, because that's one of my favorite topics, and I feel like you as well. How do you navigate growing, quote unquote, growing your personal brand in this untraditional way?
Yeah. Again, psychology is a big one. The feel good factor is so laughter has always been the backbone of my business. And so I really prioritize that. Consistency as well with what I do want to show with my personal brand. So down to my little fur babies, I always show them. Julia, who's literally taking photos behind the camera right now, my bestie, she's always involved too. Family life, and just like letting you in on what I want to be shown and doing that consistently. Also, one of the methods I do talk about this often is the shareholder effect. How I build my personal brand is I bring people in. And so I give them this sense, even on business building, like naming Azura or naming, picking the chair for my office. Like I get people's voices to matter and I give them a piece of the success. So I ask tons of opinions around my personal brand business, using story pull features and making it easy to engage. And so I build that up so people feel so included within my community. And I talk in first person. That's a huge tip. It seems minor, but it's massive. And yeah, I think the personal brand and how I've done it, it really comes down to I just got clear on like who the heck I am and how I want to show up and how I want to be remembered and honestly how I want to make people feel. And I think I don't know if it's as big of a trend, but I know last year agitation content and problem aware, it was
Totally.
Oh, it was
Everywhere.
That was the tip of all tips. Is it effective? Yes. Do I agree with it? Yes. Do I agree to the degree of it and the volume? No. So my biggest thing and how to quote unquote be untraditional was I was like, how can I leave a lasting impression of like, maybe I can't put my finger on it, but I know when I go to Natasha's stories, I'm either going to laugh, I'm going to be very inspired, I'm going to support her by giving my opinion on something, and then I'll watch that opinion come to fruition in whatever way. And I just want to make people feel very, very good and inspired in my world. And so that's kind of been the foundation of building a personal brand. And it's not about me. Yes, it's personal, but I wouldn't be me if it wasn't for you. And so I really, really emulate that out.
Oh, I love that because I think it's really hard for people to find a balance, especially in the influencer world and seeing all these influencers just pop off and just live their life and everyone eats it up. But at the end of the day, your personal brand is a brand. It's not you. So it is about, and I love what you said, how you make people feel. What do you want them to, how do you want them to remember you? So it is this like give and take. And I always like to, I like to use the cafe analogy, like, oh, your page is a cafe. What do you want it to look on the outside? How do you want to make people feel on the inside when you walk in? Like, are like the lights flickering and are the are the chairs creakety cracketing and like, oh, I fell. Like the boba is mushy, but like the outside is nice, and you paying attention to all those little details really, really shows. And just like what you said, it's not about the vanity metrics, and it doesn't have to be. Of course, yes, there's other people that build their businesses off of getting amazing visibility. Of course, that's possible, but that's not the only way. And I think that's really refreshing because that really is the way that people either glamorize, idolize, or the only one that they want to pay attention to.
What's interesting is actually on a recent podcast, and I think you can resonate with this because like it girl vibes. Yeah, thank you. But I actually got asked about pretty privilege and success, and I thought it was an interesting take. And one of my tips was I was like, and it's to your point of how do you want to, when you walk in the store, is it going to match the exterior? And I said, pretty privilege, right? Or from the outside, what it can look, you can have the sexy branding, you can have the vibes, or think of the vanity metrics to back you up and get people in the door. But that will only get you so far. And rapport is so important, and impression and quality and the passion and the work that you give. And so you want to have a beautiful exterior, but it is so much more important to have something that is going to wow your people. And I preach about that, like delight your people and surprise them, whether it's a little free thing here or a little gift here or an extra something there. Like really delight your people. Even though they had high expectations, let them walk away and be like, you know what? Like, I can't believe I got more than what was expected because like she presented herself so well. So anyways, I just thought of that because it's
that's really
so
interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't, and it's so interesting in the educator space. A lot of that stuff is talked about in the influencer content creator world, but not really in the educator world because we're in some way seen as like, oh, we're just the teachers. We're kind of like up here over everyone else because we know everything. When really realistically, we definitely don't. We got the mentee bees, we have all the things, but then we also want to have fun and we want to do fun things and we want to take the hot pics and we want to do all of that stuff. So that's really interesting that you brought that up. But I totally agree that all that I've seen crazy amazing branding and I've seen amazing photo shoots, and then I go in and I take a look and I'm like, what happened? Where is this? Where is that? What's your mission? Even what's your mission here? What's this and that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just did this brand shoot and I thought I would be done. And I'm like, oh no, that is like way, way past. Like that's like afterwards, after all the doing work, like all the internal work.
Yeah. No, and you know, like I preach about your systems, right? I preach about creating a seamless experience from top to bottom because of that reason. And like make your funnels aesthetic, like make things visually, but also really over deliver in the quality of service and delight your people as much as you can. Because there's no easier way to kind of shoot yourself in the foot or create a ripple effect of a not so great reputation if you give the smoke and mirrors kind of effect.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I mean, how many times have you gone to like a restaurant or a store and it's like, oh, it's so pretty on the outside. You go in and you're like, but wow, this is nothing not what I wanted. And it's even more disappointing. Like I actually wish it was ugly on the outside so that it would match.
Yes.
But yes. Okay. So again, off into a tangent, as I already said. Okay. So you have founded multiple businesses, obviously. Are you laughing?
They are.
Wow.
You're a funny girl.
I'm a comedian. Thank you. Founded multiple businesses. We're going to talk about your new tech baby. But because you work in the online space and you work with high level clients or really successful clients, they're obviously struggling with socials as well. So because you're kind of hands off on socials, how do you, even though you're not a social media manager, how do you have those conversations with your clients about socials, about using socials for their business when you have taken like this more untraditional approach?
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so interesting. I've done it. So I think where people think, oh, how can you give necessarily advice on that if you're not doing it yourself? That's just in this season, you know, and the way I've adopted it. But also I think being an effective marketer is being able to be adaptive in the advice that you give and take yourself and your quote unquote one way or one method. And you're able to mend and really give advice to the person that you're dealing with. Like mentorship is very subjective, obviously. But, I've done the omnipresent stuff. So when I give advice, I put that hat on and I'm very, like I analyze my client and I analyze their audience. And I really get to know them and their personal brand, and I will never put them in a box. And so I look at all of these moving pieces and these factors and I say, okay, what psychology method, what marketing methods, what can we mix and match together to really drive home and double down on what will work for them and be received for their audience? And so that's the approach I take. It's custom. It's in the moment of what's going on in future projections. I really like to get in there. And then I asked them, like, what do you love? What do you freaking hate? Like, what are you doing right now that you're like, I want to rip my hair out. I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, let's look at team. How can we sustainably scale? And so that's like, it's hard to put my finger on it because it is so custom. And that's why I'm very picky with who I work with. Like I have to be in love with who they are and what they're doing and be inspired because I really get in there. And so, yeah, it's not one method. It's just like analyzing where they're at, where they want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely felt that when I was working with you, and I worked with you in group settings, which I don't know how you do it, but you're really like, you're tackling so many different personalities, different issues, all the different things. And I think you're really good at, again, like customizing your approaches to everyone and not making anyone feel like, okay, well, this person's doing everything right. Like this person needs to be like that person. Like that custom approach is something that I really appreciate from you. But I really want to get into sales psych and selling online, because I think and has been one of like the biggest complaints about selling online, specifically the coaching space, is, oh, I don't want to feel salesy. I give the ick, or somebody else is giving me the ick in selling. So please give us a rundown. I know you could be here forever and do a whole masterclass right now, but keep it short.
Yeah.
What is sales psych and why is it so important to selling online?
Yeah, sales psych, it's a sure way to be so confident in your people skills and your communication skills. I think it's communication first and the ability to read the room, and then it's sales second. I think sales psych has this rep at times of being manipulative. I think it comes down to the integrity and your intention behind it. But sales psychology, it literally is people skills. It's being able to take a pause and say, okay, I'm not just going to follow the script or do this one shark-esque type of bro marketing approach, you know, and treat them just like a number. You're treating the person on the other end like what they are, a person. And so I look at sales psychology. I say it's like the love languages of sales. And think of it, if like you're a physical touch girly and someone is waterboarding you with gifts, you're like, I'm not vibing here. What the heck? You know what I mean? No, thank you. And so same thing with sales. And so sales psych is all about learning to, yes, speak to the masses, but while also speaking to one. I always say that, because you're tailoring the message to the person that you're talking to. Or if it's in, say, a sales page, or you are talking to the masses, you can create different forms or buckets of content for the different buyer types, which there's 4. And I think it's just, it's a sure way, to kind of ditch imposter syndrome. You get to the root and the why of your conversions, which is so important. And you get to track how things are working. You get to really become an expert in sales. And then you also avoid getting just like completely run over by trends, because it's timeless sales psych. So yeah, that was a little long-winded, but
No, that was good. So what are the kind of untraditional practices that you do when infusing sales psychology in your content, or even when you're talking in the DMs with someone?
Yeah, well, right away, I analyze like what it becomes second nature. Like I can pick up right away someone's buyer type, or their 2 prominent ones.
And what are those? What are the buyer types?
Yeah, so analytical, which you are an analytical girly. Yeah, analytical, and then you have amiable, and you have expressive, and you have driver buyer. Do you want me to go into a little bit?
Yeah, you want to go. You want to give me a little.
Analytical is by nature, they're analytical. Like they're picky. They're the ones where you got to be patient with them. You got to be patient. They're the ones who are going to do a little stocky pop, side eye looking at you, a stocky pop. They're going to ghost you.
Right.
They need the information to feel safe. They hate risk. Like they need to feel like they're in control. And so having the details of price, when, so they don't have to ask. Because if they feel like they're being sold to or pressured or cornered into an investment, whoa. Like they're going to say, no, thank you, not a vibe. So you have to give them the information in your front facing marketing to be able to take that, digest it, process. So you have to have more patience. And then you have the amiable, which God bless the amiable. They're like the hot mess express a little bit. Once they trust you, you can literally walk them to the checkout. They're the ones where you can disarm with humor and be like, girl, this is the 3rd time you're ghosting me. What's going on? What's the spiral of the week, right? And they love that. And then they look at you like with puppy dog eyes, almost like, just tell me what I need. Because in their mind, they're like, I don't know left to, I know I want to do it, but then they kind of psych themselves out. So they love community. They love to be, they love to facilitate amazing synergy in groups. And so you'll see them in memberships, groups, and that's amiable. And then you have my favorite, expressive. And that was through the social experiment. I intentionally curated content and my communication styles to facilitate expressive buyers and pull that even out of analytical buyers. And so that was very intentional. It's also naturally how I am. So it was second nature, but expressive is your star client. They're the ones, they don't even know what the heck they're buying into. They're just like, EU, thank you. They are your biggest raving fan, their neighbor, their freaking dog, their grandmama knows about you, okay? Everyone. And they are the backbone of your business. They are your walking and talking 5-star reviews. It's the ones that you're going to go out for drinks for, the ones you're going to, have coffee with, you're going to meet up, you're going to become friends with oftentimes. And it just creates a beautiful synergy in your business and communities. And then you have driver. I'm a driver buyer, and there's tons of them in the space. And I noticed this is in marketing, a lot of people struggle, women specifically, to call this in because of imposter syndrome, because we're very emotional in our business, and that's okay. But driver buyer, they want to see the humble brags. They want to see the success. They know within themselves too, like they have a sense of authority, but they need to see that in the person they're investing in. So driver buyer is like owning your success, but in a very tasteful way, while also bigging up your people and letting them know, like, I see you, I'm not trumping you by any means. We can learn from each other. And it's a very strong connection that you can have. They're your easiest sale. They're usually like, their mind is made up. They have like 1 or 2 questions and they're like, paid, done.
Yes. Yeah. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I love when that happens. I'm like, oh, hi.
You would have a lot of driver and expressive.
Yes, I definitely do have a lot of driver and expressive, and after working with you, I can definitely like sniff them out a little bit more. And I'm like, it's so funny too because I went to university and I took business classes, and we learned about these. Like it was like analytical Annie or something like that, and I was like, cool, great, pass the test, don't worry about it. And then I started working with you, and I was like, oh. Maybe I should have paid attention a little bit more. But it was good. It was good that I got like a little refresh. And I think talking about the buyer types and talking about sales psych, it's also really different to just like learn it or read it and to like actually practice and do it, especially when you're having those like one-on-one conversations, because DMs or voice messages, like I think a lot of people are so used to, and even I can be very guilty of this, of either like forgetting or being left on red, or someone comes in with a lot of questions. And I think something that I struggled with is like people would ask me all these questions and I'm like, it's on the sales page, or like, oh, I already like made a piece of content on it. So when you're having these conversations, first of all, how do you have the patience to have so many conversations with so many different people? And like, how do you just pour all this energy into one-on-one conversations? Because I know comments and DMs are something that people miss all the time.
That's a great question. So I do have a good method here because I don't got all day to be in my DMs too. I'm like, I can't, like, I get tired as well. So what I'll do is say I am getting a ton of questions and I know I have a system set up, like an application form, an intake form, or I know a portion in the sales page. So I'll say sandwich method here a little bit, which is where you disclaim, you like love up on what you're about to say, and then you deliver it, and then you package it with like a really nice concluding note. Because you don't want to throw people off. If you're like, it's on the sales page, they'll be like, that's a little bitchy.
Right.
What the hell? You know what I mean? So what I'll say is, oh my gosh, like those are incredible questions. I love how insightful you are. I love that you've taken the time to think of those and ask those. So I just want to say thank you for that. Just for the sake of time and like making sure that we're effective here, I'll answer 2 amazing questions. Is there 2 that are like top of mind for you? And they'll tell me which ones. And I say, as for the others, and I'll either screenshot it on the sales page, or I'll say you can refer to this spot to dive a little deeper. Let me know your thoughts around that, if that clarifies. Or if I know it can go right to the intake form, I'll start off again, like, thank you so much for taking the time. Those are incredible questions. I actually am, I make sure that, you know, the quality and the ethics of who comes in, it's so important. And I've strategically set up a system. If you can just take like 2 minutes to fill this intake form out, that will give me all the advice so I can confidently decide if this feels like such a good fit. And if I have questions and you have anything lingering, we can go from there. But like, please take those 2 seconds, because it'll likely answer your questions and we'll be good to go. And it's always been received so well.
Yeah. I think the main thing that I took away from that is you saying what you have done because you find this conversation important. And I think that's the big issue, is that nobody is finding these conversations important. Or it's like, okay, you asked me a question, like just read the sales page, or just like read this piece of content. But you're really coming in being like, oh, I actually like, thank you so much. I'm going to make this so much easier for you.
See that framing. And you know what's ironic too? So I just hosted, and I posted like twice, or I am hosting right now, a mastermind. It's a small group, but that's all I wanted. And one of the girls, Ani, we were on the last call, she said, you know, it's interesting, you're going over your personal brand. She's like, I've recently found you, but the number one thing that made me immediately sign up, and I only posted like twice casually about this, no sales page and no nothing. She was like, it was our DM conversation. Right away, you answered my 2 questions. You were so kind. And then she's a huge dog person too. So she was like, oh my God. And she's like,
a little lifestyle pillar moment right there.
Yep. Your pillars. Yes, ma'am. But she said it was immediately, I felt like I was talking to someone I've already met. And it wasn't this like arrogant, she's like, I could tell that the conversation was important to you and I was important to you. And that, like, please, anyone listening, like, do not put the importance of these DM conversations and that face-to-face moment with your clients and your audience don't devalue that. Like that holds so much weight because that is an impression. And I will tell you, truly one of the biggest pieces of advice from my highest paying clients who have over time paid over $60,000. Okay. They have said the reason I invested happily, like within seconds of finding you or within the hour of finding you was that initial conversation is I could tell you cared and I didn't feel like a number, you know. And it doesn't mean, again, you have to be in your DMs for hours on hours. Use some of those methods I gave and set your systems up so you can redirect them a little. Ooh, go here.
Yeah.
It's how you navigate and frame those conversations to direct them there intentionally and respectfully.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I definitely felt that when I was speaking to you, even though I stalked you for like a year. Okay, it's fine. We're grown. Stalking Natasha for literally a year. And I'm like, we'll talk about it next year.
Analytical.
Quite literally, we'll talk about it next year. And then I actually invested to work with you. But this is such a good reminder because, and also just kind of shows how your methods to socials, your untraditional methods to socials works for you. Because I'm sure if you, for the people that are creating and creating and creating, they probably do feel a little bit drained and a little bit tired, as any human would, but then they wouldn't take the time. And I call out big, especially the big creators, especially my big influencers. I'll send my clients screenshots. They have over hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm like, you didn't comment to one of them or even like them. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm sorry. But because you've kind of taken a step back from like main content creation, then you really get to pour into your people. And I always get the question of, how do I increase engagement? How do I build a community? And I always ask, well, what are you doing to do that? Have you commented back? Are you even liking them? Is liking them like such a big task for you? Because it isn't. All you have to do is type. Are you using their first names? Are you asking them questions? Are you caring about them? And most of the time the answer is like, oh, well, I'm just creating, which is great. I love creating and I love watching people create and helping people create. But in order to build a community, you got to actually be caring about the people that are within that community.
Yeah, you got to give to get. And it makes me think of which Alyssa and I will be there together at Maya's summit. But it reminds me of the case study Maya did on the Azura launch. Did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's seriously like that to a T, because she was talking about how even on other people's posts, like I would from the Azura page and even my business page, the Natasha Zoryk one, I would comment. And I treat that as if it's just as important as pressing record on the camera. And I really take the time there. And I think oftentimes, and of course, as numbers grow, you have to manage expectation. You can't be glued to your phone. You can get support there. And I think that's encouraged. But I treat it so as if it's a top priority to engage and not just say like, thanks girl, heart, so pretty, heart, you know. I will like you said, that was a great piece of advice. Put the first name, really be intentional with the way you comment, and so people feel warm and fuzzy. And again, feel warm and fuzzy when you're engaging with them.
Yes, exactly. And if you are going to follow Tosh and engage with her content, like you will literally see it firsthand. You'll experience it firsthand. Literally, again, she's quick, so she'll be there waiting after the podcast.
I will. Scene.
But okay, let's talk about Azura. So you made an app that's supposed to be better than Voxer, Slack, Telegram. Just rid with them, enough of them. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Miss Azura. So, oh my God, it's been a whirlwind. If I refresh, like we're probably right there, almost at 2,000 users. And we just gave access February. But Miss Azura, it was a common frustration. You know, we've all seen the not so great orange robot, right?
The walkie-talkie voice.
Please, it haunts me. Like that's the reason for my sleep paralysis. And yeah, I'm like, thank you. We need to get rid of that. And so we did. And then Slack, you know, she's cute, she's better, but I work with a lot of creatives. It's too complex at times. People get very frustrated with Slack. People apparently have nightmares with the notification.
Oh, yep. Triggered.
And there's so many parts to it that people don't need. And it's very expensive, actually. I've talked to a lot of people. They minimum for data, it gets to like $250 to $400 USD a month. And I didn't know that, actually. And so you're very capped in scaling. And again, the biggest thing was there's just a lot of frustration around those apps. Now, Azura, it's kind of it fuses my whole journey together, even from taking comms and business in university, and then being a designer, starting out in entrepreneurship as a designer, and then mentorship. It combines all of that together because you work so hard on building such a beautiful brand and experience. And then these apps that ultimately it's where we are spending and delivering these luxe experiences literally could not clash more with our brands.
There's colors.
There's a color. Colors. Gasp. Like, what do you mean Barney purple?
Right.
Like side eye. That's insane. That's catastrophic. And so I'm like, no, thank you. And so knowing the combination and the importance of creating a beautiful experience and then having strategy backed with it, that's what Azura is. So it's elevated simplicity. And so you can make the app look and feel like your own, from fonts, colors, your logo. There's so many things that you can do to make the physical app. Even the browser tab can have your SEO and your label and logo. And we're working right now in enterprise, like a full custom white label. There's so many things that's happening with Azura, but that was a huge component. So that, again, the app that you're actually delivering these luxe services in, it's an extension of your brand, because it is. And then down to the features within it. I was like, how many times have our friggin' clients been like, oh, sorry, where's the portal again? Or in your emails, bookmark it. So now you have on the sidebar, you can add in and change the label, like portal button, or you can add the link there. And so we've made the features for our unique work, for creatives, for entrepreneurs, business coaches, service providers, and they complement the work. Because again, like Slack and Voxer, they weren't designed for us. Azura was. And it was also not only, of course, built by myself and my amazing team, but it was built by lawyers, creatives, designers, coaches, copywriters. Like, I involved and had discussions and beta testers that said, I would love for my communication app to have that done. And so Azura, it's a manifestation of our shared frustrations with our communication app. And she's the moment. I love her.
And so when you launched this, there was like a sprinkle of feed posts. Yes, Azura has its own Instagram, but again, it wasn't like a traditional launch. It wasn't, which you really never do anyway. And you have almost 2,000 users. And I feel like you really bulked up your stories. I know you utilize, I believe I got emails about it. But you didn't do the post every day, 14-day launch for this. And you still have 2,000 people on it.
Yeah. So very intentional here. I actually, with Azura's launch, it was a year that I launched it. And what I did was that shareholder effect. And so I started out on my personal brand. I knew that would be a stepping stone. I knew that would be so important to raise Azura up, because of course I'm going to use this brand I've built for years to pedestal that. And what I did for a year was I involved people. I made their opinion. People helped name the app. Of course, I didn't pick it. Yeah. One of the select. It's okay. I was very appreciated, though. It grew the email list, but I had a wait list. And Inner Circle Vibes, Expressive Buyers, I was still facilitating that method by creating this circle of, you need to be on the wait list, and building curiosity. And so I took people along the journey. I did journal entries, I think 3 months into developing it, which was April 2023, I wrote weekly, like, spirals. I labeled pillars, and I was like, what was a spiral of the week? What was and I said, I started opening up about budget. What have I spent? People were so curious. And so I just was an open book in my own digital space. And then, so I involved people in it. And then it was funny. A big piece of feedback was like, I feel like Azura's like little auntie. Like she's my niece or my nephew. Like, I'm the auntie. What do you mean? Like, I'm the bestie, which is like, I'm not blood related, but I am.
Right. Period.
And that's what I wanted to create, was Azura is our app. And it wasn't about making it about me or anything. And then leading up to it, I did ramp up the post, but it definitely wasn't the traditional.
Yeah.
And
you took your time.
I did. I did. And I also was very effective in creating the bandwagon effect in sales psychology through affiliates. So we have well over 100 affiliates already. And again, we just launched like February 2024 and we're not even in the app store yet. So
Yeah, I'm waiting.
we've been declined 11 times. I'm hustling. Girl, someone I know is 907 submissions. I said, please, Lord, are you listening? That better not.
900 submissions. I'm waiting. I'm like, where is it? Where is it?
I know they're so picky, but we'll get there. We're fighting. But yeah, I used the affiliates. And so what I did, being the little business mentor that I am, I was like, I've been in so many affiliate programs and they kind of, you get in and they're like, okay, hope for the best.
Right.
Go market my brand. But it's like, okay, but how are you supporting me as an affiliate? And so what I did was I created a robust, me looking at myself in the thing here. I'm like,
I know.
She's looking busted. No, but sorry. Distractions. But no, I created a robust marketing hub for them. And I think it has like 20 something assets. And so templates, all our visuals that we did, videos, copy. So I made it so easy to sell Azura. And also like I just made people in the know of what Azura is and what we're about. And so when we accepted the affiliates, I let them do a massive piece of the marketing, right? They went out and it was shared excitement, talking about how thrilled they are. And then they had the beautiful copy and assets. And so that was a massive component where I was going to I worked up the expressive community and I was like, okay, now flaunt your stuff, do your thing, right? And then they did. And it was amazing. And I have pulled back a lot on the marketing because we're waiting to be in the app store.
Right.
And bugs and stuff. And we've threshed all that out and fixed it. But yeah, it was a slower launch. It was a longer one, but with tech, it's also very different.
Right.
It is so different than selling a mastermind, than selling a service. And so I knew I had to come in with a very different approach.
Right. And yeah, that's also something I wanted to ask you because I'm sure it was so different. I can't even like really wrap my head around how you made this transition, but I mean, you had experience before as a founder, but you're entering into this whole different world. So what are the biggest struggles that you dealt with? Maybe in addition to the app store.
Yeah, the app store, again, like it's all down on your agent. It depends on the agent you get. So if anyone wants to build an app, I'm putting out to the universe that you get a good agent. But letting go of control, I know you get this. Oh, letting go of control and like that perfectionism and like wanting to be nitty gritty, like be in control of the decisions and how things go. Running a tech company is very humbling. Like, what the hell is a code? Couldn't be me. And so like when something happens or a bug, it's my name, my brand and everything on the line. And it's inevitable with a tech startup. Like once humans get in your technology, when it's completely brand new code, you can't predict how humans are going to click, where they're going to go. You can do stress testing. You can have beta testers, but like, and Azura our users are using the shit out of it. So it's been crazy to see that. So with that, we've had some complications. So it was practicing inner healing breath work has been something when there's things going on. Yes. And then really putting that leadership hat on and practicing like healthy, loving communication with the team when it's like, I'm fine, but there's fire everywhere. You're like,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So breath work.
Right. Okay, wait. Let's talk about that portion because that is something that you only experience when you start building a team. When you love your team members so much, but then something happens that you're like, if I did it, it wouldn't be this way. Or why are there mistakes? Like when my podcast editor, when he goes on jungle excursions without my permission and he uploads the wrong file, like things like that. Like, love you so much, but like, why did you mess up? What do you do? Like, how do you even manage? Because everyone talks about work-life balance, which I am now thinking like it's a scam. But what do you do to still be so caring, so loving, so strong, and just like handle all the fires that we have to put out as business owners?
Yeah, that's a good question. Don't be reactive. Like, honest to God, like, do not angry message your team. And it's all about effective, loving communication. So taking that moment or having a good outlet, looking at Julia right here too. She's definitely a big outlet. Like, I'll FaceTime. She's an entrepreneur too. So that's, thankful there. But having someone in your in real life circle that you can, quote unquote, I don't want to say offload, but have that little moment. Or if you don't, within yourself, taking that moment, okay, yes, you're going to have that anger, that frustration, that like, ooh, and especially if it's recurring issues, like I understand where you're like, your eyeball literally starts twitching and you're like, I'm going to combust.
Right.
You have to regulate. You don't want to be that founder or that leader where you have those meltdowns and really passive aggressive tones, because you're going to create an unsafe space, and you're also going to it's going to mess the synergy up. I am a firm believer at facilitating the self-actualization within your team, so everyone feels like their voice and opinions outside of their role matters. And being passive, being just aggressive, being rude, and kind of known to have that short fuse will completely disrupt that. And so being able to self-regulate and self-soothe and take that moment, and then you approach it in a loving way. Sandwich method. Okay, guys, I want to have a very transparent conversation here. I feel like I've definitely hit a little bit of a wall, but I need to bring up these issues. Like, why does this keep happening? Or can we have a quick call in a loving way, in a safe space to unpack this? Thank you. I appreciate all that you're doing. It's just something needs to change. And then it's the tone, it's the approach, and honestly, not having that outburst. And because I'm sure you've heard about it, experienced it in your own way, where
I've cried to you about it.
Yeah, like, oh, literally, but even for you, say you've had a boss, or you've heard about like the CEO of whatever, or maybe in some of other side gigs you've done, like modeling or this and that, where it's like, ooh, gotta watch myself around her. Yeah. You don't ever want to have that reputation.
Oh,
it's like we're soulmates or something.
But seriously, like, your reputation is everything. And I think especially on socials, to get the clicks, to get the views, to go in with that like hot fire energy. I mean, yes, it works for some people, but I always think about, and I'm sure you get this all the time on your intake forums and client testimonials, that, oh, when I worked with Tosh, like, she made me feel so good, or when I'm consuming her content, when I'm listening to her podcast, like, there's something about her that she lights something up in me. And those kind of testimonials and those kinds of responses don't happen when you're like, wah, 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 when you're a dog out there. It doesn't happen. Will it get the views? Absolutely. And sometimes I will tell my clients, if they're like, hey, like, the reach isn't that good, or this isn't that, and then they don't see like, hey, but your website taps are up 200%, or you talked about a product once and it sold out, and they forget. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you, and I'll send them like a little script, and they're like, okay, well, why don't we make something like this? And it is something like very like negative framed, kind of doggish, and they're like, no. And I'm like, right. We want to, it really is about like keeping the integrity of your brand and understanding you're not here just to like be famous. And if you are, then you're in the wrong space, because I can't make you famous. I don't know how to do that. But what is the brand that you're building? And that's something, again, because you have that traditional approach to socials, like, you have like super hit the nail on the nail on the head. Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Hit the nail. Period.
Hit the nail. Period.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so the last question I want to ask you, we talked about Azura, we talked about sales psych, we talked about money, and money is such an interesting topic, specifically on the online space, because we came from the big girl bossing kind of movement where it was like 10K months was everything, and now a few months later a 10K month is nothing, it doesn't mean anything, and now it's like I don't even know what that number is. So what did you have to do, not just in your business but who you are, like being the it girl? What did you have to do to get from like 6 figures to 7 figures, or whatever like kind of, I guess, like quote unquote plateau, like you were consistent to like jump up that next income level?
I love that question. And actually, I just worked on that with Jules in her business. She's a wedding photographer. And that's 2022 and 2023, that question or goal was the number one thing that people wanted to come and hire me for. Was I want that next level. I want that different type of client. Like, how do I get there? Mm-hmm. So how I did that was, from behind closed doors, is I really beefed things up. So I prioritized beautiful brand visuals, but I switched to go high level. I made it a way more beautiful experience. I really worked on my systems, my copy. I hired people that like really are in their expert role to support me as well, from copywriters, designers, and all that, and created a collaborative experience. But I would say it was working on the quality of my items. Mm-hmm. It was really only truly creating services and mentoring on topics that like I can stand 10 toes down on. And I'm like, I have not only done this myself, but facilitated beautiful results for multiple people and clients, which facilitated and created this synergy of, and this energy of fun, mm-hmm. passion. And that was a ripple effect in my marketing. And then, so when people came in my world, they're like, oh my God, I want to experience that. I want to taste of that. So I would say coming home to myself and my truth, and not following someone else's blueprint or the online spaces. I scaled and got to that next level from 6 to 7 figures in a year. And then, back to back was, just really finding myself, my visuals, my brand, and having fun with it. And also, from that, I attracted amazing clients like yourself. I can't even tell you how many times clients after you and I worked together, like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with Alyssa. I love it. Oh girl, she got fans. Let me tell you, she got fans. My clients love you. I'm like, thank you. I'm equally obsessed. I know. Right. I know. And so, and Maya too, like just so many clients. And so it was how I elevated my brand, my services, my mission, just the quality.
Doing it your way.
Yeah.
Just doing it your way. And the main things that like I'm taking from this conversation, and I hope you take, for you listening, is that you can do it your way and you can take your time. And even if you take your time, it's actually not as long as you think. Like, you have been quote unquote launching Azura for a year, but what if you went like super, super quick and then you had to backtrack, and then it would just prolong it anyway. When you act intentionally and really have that like trust in yourself, that confidence in yourself, like, no, I'm going to do it this way because this feels right. I can do it intentionally. I can do it in a way that's not going to burn me out, which I know you're super, super big on. It's actually not that much time. Like, a year is nothing.
Mm-hmm. And like, don't get caught up in the loop of instant gratification. That robs people. And I'm just going to say it. It's honestly, a lot of business coaches give horrible advice around that, and they sell the dream of like 100K months and 100K months, but at what? The cost of your happiness, your sanity, your relationships, like your friendships. You're not able to sleep. Like, you get sleep disorders. Like, I've heard of that stuff. You gain or lose so much weight, and that's unhealthy. Like, I have seen that and the effects of burnout. And so it really isn't. This space can push massive 1%er type of goals, mm-hmm. and make it seem like it's like so easy like that, when in all reality, you take a step outside of the online space. It's like, wait, that's, as a woman too, that's insane to accomplish. And so if you truly are doing what you feel like is your life's work and passion, and you want to build a feel good, long lasting legacy, take a little bit of time, a little bit of a TLC on the project that you're working on, and it's okay. And don't look outside of yourself at what everyone or that big fancy coach is doing, because you actually don't know how miserable or happy they are behind the scenes. And just make having fun and feeling good a North Star, a compass for you. Yeah.
It's giving it girl energy.
Thank
Thank you. Okay. So wrapping up, because oh my gosh, there's so many. I hope you wrote everything down that we have said, or you can watch it a couple of times, because there's so many good nuggets in here that I don't really talk about too much on my page, which is why I'm so happy that you're here. But we're gonna do rapid fire questions. Think hot ones, but no wings, because podcast editor hasn't figured that out yet. Don't know why. But okay, so let's say something happened. You had an epiphany overnight and you're like, okay, I'm going to take content creation seriously. Are you choosing Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Right. What's your content guilty pleasure?
Oh my God, fridge tours. Oh my God, give me a fridge restock. I'm like, what the hell?
So the Kardashians.
Yeah, like when they put like a flower, like a fleur, or like the most random pots in there. I'm like, yes. It doesn't make sense, but I'm like, add it.
Love it. Love that. Business advice that needs to go.
Waterboarding your people with problem aware content.
Okay. Fave beauty product right now?
It's Korean. It's Korean
love.
skincare. Yeah, love. It's it's snail.
Oh, snail mucin?
But it's not. It's the bean one.
Oh, the Mixin Bean Essence.
Period.
Right.
That's it.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. She knows.
I also too have that in my skincare fridge.
Oh.
Actually, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Love it.
Okay, one thing you're really looking forward to being in Southern California?
In and out.
Oh, yes. Something that you absolutely just love about what you do.
The people, oh my God, like meeting you and like, I'm like, bye. I can't like love you so much. Yeah, the people, connecting with women and just like always being in a state of inspiration.
Love it. And then last, what to you gives it girl energy?
Ooh, being able to have like a good laugh, a good energy, right? Again, like leading back to that quick point of pretty privilege, if you want to say, or having the external factors in your favor. I think it girl energy is being like that bitch on the inside.
Ugh, I love it. Okay, so to close it off, finally, let us know how we can hang out with you, how we can connect with you, what's going on, what's coming up.
Yeah, so Natasha.Zoryk for my business mentorship page. And that's where you can slide in the DMs and we can have a hoot and cackle. If you have any questions, please. And then the Azura is We Are Azura. And from there, and then I have my podcast, Tash Talks. I haven't posted in a while, so don't clock me. She's coming back. Okay, we've taken a little bit of a break. But that's where we can hang out.
She's on the world tour, guys. Yeah. It's fine.
I can't with this girl.
She's on the world tour. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're going to go grab a little drink. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, break a leg.